knowledge of myself is such that I feel I would say, oh, please, come on down here, let's talk. Can I have a shirt like that? Let me have
Goddamn reminder
I'm being a little
thing threw me out into the
but
desktop
I know
again.
that I am open and willing
Forgot to turn it off.
because I think there is so much unexplained and so much potential
So this is part 2.
limited human experience and this spectrum that we can perceive, this limited visual spectrum and audio spectrum that we perceive. I think there's just much more.
What happens every now and then is, if I
think
don't
that
turn off the
it's more
reminder
likely
before I start a
that
trip,
we are a product of the
a damn
codified we talked
reminder
about
will
earlier,
throw me to the
or
desktop in the
perhaps
middle of driving
intervention
at 65 miles
by
an hour,
others.
Well, I think very strongly that is a
which
possibility. I think
can
there's
cause an
something,
accident,
and
of
I'm not up to
course.
this, not up on this as much as I was at one time. When we were reading,
But not only that, it
but
stops
I
my
think it's a
recording.
gap. It's
So
a
I have to start the
human,
recording all over again
intellectual attainment that is
and
unexplained.
more or less just
And
pick
I
up from
do
where I
believe
left off.
it is
That's why
probable
there are some
that we
videos
are a hybrid
that are labeled
of
as
some
part 1
kind.
and part 2 because the
The book is
desktop reminder
pretty
kicked me
complete
out of
book
the
of the 12 planets.
desktop
Sitchin, yes.
Yeah, I found that
and also
very,
stopped my recording.
very stimulating and potentially believable.
Well, he postulates we were all a bunch of gold diggers.
Yeah, that's right.
And that planet will come
Now
back.
today's Wednesday. I don't
You have to wonder
believe
what
there's
the
any
created
more
with us would.
recording or reminder warnings.
Now this
I
may be
should
a
have
little
remembered
lighthearted,
that
but when
5
I was
o'clock
young, it was the coolest
reminder.
thing to go to California, and I did.
That's a reminder for me to
I
take my
went to
little
California,
aspirin,
and it was great. Today,
my
when I go to
81
California,
milligram
I'm appalled.
aspirin.
I am absolutely
Yes, I'm old.
I mean, what has happened to that golden state, that once great place to go to? It is regulated to death, taxed to death. It's a disaster. It's a social disaster. I mean, you can go and spend a little time in a lot of cities in California, and you can count the muzzle flashes, you know.
Yeah, and it's just ugly. It's ugly to the eye, from the air, from the ground. There are too many humans to begin with everywhere. There are certainly too many of them packed into the population centers of California. I live in Southern California.
Same thing can happen if I
One thing
push
I can say that I have
a
good
key on the
my
keyboard.
there is
Sometimes
I live
that
in
pushes
Venice,
me out to the
down on those
desktop
little
again as
canals,
well.
and I hear
Which
the
is
ducks
why I
every
try not to
night
touch the
in
damn
the middle of the
keyboard.
morning, and at least I'm close to the ocean, and I'm a little bit away from the sound of
To
traffic.
change,
And
the
it's like a
radio
small oasis, but I agree with you.
or
I think it's
change
true
the
of
song
most
that's
everywhere.
playing or
Too many
something like
people,
that.
too much acquisition,
9 times out of
goods,
10, it'll kick
too
me
many
out.
people hunting money,
Don't know why it does it.
and possession. Everyone wants a salad shooter. Everyone wants a pair of sneakers with lights in them. Everyone wants
But I'm
a
assuming I'll
shirt
do a
with a
test
number of
later to
some
test
foolish
this.
basketball player
See
on
if
the
it's all
back of it.
still working and I'm
We've
not
been bought
talking
off.
too
We've
loud,
been bought
or
off with all these gadgets and toys.
I've been trying to test the
One thing
microphone,
I
and
think
it
that happens
seems
to
if
this
I just
species
talk at a
that are irreversible and that destroy
normal
us are the belief
conversation
that man in
voice,
the sky,
almost a
that's the
whisper
sky god,
actually,
as
that
Fidel
it's
called
plenty
him,
loud enough
the
for you
belief
to
in
hear
the
me
sky god
without
who keeps
overwhelming
his
you.
war
Hello,
going on us
officer.
and has a burning pit of hell for some of us. And the other is the pursuit of goods, commerce,
And
rampant
what
consumerism.
feels like my
Next
volume
HBO
for
show
the
I do is
George Carlin
called
show is
The Great
loud enough to
American Cattle
hear,
Drive. But the American cattle
but I
are not
can't be
being
absolutely
prepared
sure
for
till I play
markets
this
in order to
back.
be sold. They're there
Now, I've
to do the
already done
buying.
2 or
They're there to
3
do
of
the
these that
buying.
I've
Get them
just
to the mall. Get
deleted
these
because
suckers to the mall. Put them on the
my
internet.
voice
Get them
was too
buying
loud,
through
or I was
e-commerce.
coughing too
Get them in the
much,
mall.
or I
It's
said something
just
that would be
repulsive and
very
disgusting. And it's one of the
controversial, and I
reasons I
thought,
quit
ooh,
this speech.
don't want that
One
in
of the
there.
reasons I backed off and said, wait a minute. That's you over there, folks. This is me over here. I'll go my way, and if it costs me something, fine. I'll pay whatever price.
Well, you're rich. I mean, you could quit now and never work another day in your life, right?
Well, there's a caveat there.
Oh, really?
Well, I spent 20 years with the IRS trying to recover from a bad old tax bill that I had.
Really?
That got worse and worse with penalties and interest, and a little bit worse at the beginning of this cycle with adding. They disallowed a few other things that I had tried to claim.
Gee, George, I didn't know that.
They weren't really out of line. They were investments.
Millions and millions, huh?
But
Why does it
they
feel
were
like it's
sufficient. But
slippery?
with penalties and interest, lien on my house for 20 years until I sold it about 6 months ago, and paid them off, and that's finally over. So I earn well. See, I've always had good earning power. I've been blessed with the ability, with the energy. I had a few heart attacks along the way, but that's the only thing. I've had energy and creativity, and I've grown in my art so that I can earn well, and I can continue to earn
Almost
beyond.
like I'm in the Frosty,
Keep a little money now,
but I've
but I'm
taken
not sitting on
Frosty
a
out.
big pile somewhere.
So you're
It
telling
just
me you
feels really
couldn't quit,
slippery.
right?
Well, I could quit, but I wouldn't live the way I do now. It'll take me another 2 or 3 years, maybe, or 5 years to
Now,
do
I
that.
have these really wide tires, these
Well,
wide vortex tires.
that's
They're double
super.
wide tires,
George, hold on. We'll be right
and
back.
in the snow they act like skis.
This should fit right in.
Levels on the way.
You gotta listen to the words here, folks.
19 hours remaining. It's now 5:06 p.m. real time, 10:21 a.m. game time on Tuesday, with a Wednesday delivery of 6:07 a.m. 19 hours and 42 minutes remaining. See the work in the blood. The end is coming soon. I'm trying not to cough, even though I'm still a smoker. My lungs feel a little better today than they did yesterday when I was recording, and I was coughing every 3 minutes. Yesterday I did a flat out 2 recording with 2 runs that were backwards or wrong way on the track, and then the other 2 runs I did as a normal single race with a medium vehicle, which meant that I had lots of competition on that last 2 races, and they were quite exciting. I had to come back from a crash I had over a cliff, literally into a canyon, and then I ended up in 6th place with 1.5 laps to do, and that would be really normally quite hard. In fact, it was to catch up and actually win. But my skill showed through, and I did get lucky because right at the last quarter of the track, 2 cars were together on a corner, and I took the inside and bumped them, and they both went off the road just enough for me to get by them. Win the race.
Sends the facts, and they're really right. They say even the most cynical person frequently, and you're in that position now, would have some words to say about love. I mean, you're newly in love,
Yes.
and you're plunging, tumbling right.
Hey, if you're going to take the left lane,
and so you must feel pretty positive about that.
Put the pedal down.
The only things that I really believe in, I don't believe in my country, I don't believe in religion and God and the institutions that man has made, I don't believe in commerce, but I believe in friendship, romantic love, and family, of course, which is found in friendship. Yes, I believe heartily, and that goes back to my affection for individual existence and individuals and the life of the soul person. It's as I said, when they begin to get into numbers larger than 4 or 5, even sometimes a group of 2 will alter how a person is. You've heard a woman will say, well, Mike's not the same when he's with those guys. Or the guys will say, well, now that he's got married, he's a different guy. Right. People surrender something. That's why when a good love affair comes along, when a great love happens, it's because the 2 people don't have to surrender
and
too
George,
much.
That's why I stayed single and have no children.
And that's what I'm lucky enough.
That affords me the luxury of having no mortgage, no child support, no alimonies, one after the other for many different wives, child support for children that probably shouldn't have been born.
It's in California. In fact,
and
this is
having a
very
father that
centered
should never be a
on
father.
glitz, glamour, and
So I
consumerism.
chose to
I
never
mean, the
go
very
that
center
route.
in the world, if you had to pick a place other than maybe where you are right now.
And I have been single all of my
Yeah.
life.
Well, I mean, Los
I
Angeles
have lived
generally.
alone a great portion of that.
I agree with.
And I like not having to answer to anyone for
I
anything.
have often
When I was a
confronted,
kid, I was
originally I
subjected
confronted it
to a
for myself,
dictatorship,
but I've been
family
confronted with the idea
dictatorship,
of,
school
when do sons
dictatorship,
sell out? When
social
have you
dictatorship.
sold
Everything
out?
was a
And
fucking
I have
dictatorship
a problem
in
with
your
people who
childhood.
try to
It
make that
still
a black
is.
or white issue. To
It
me,
wasn't until I
the
left
idea of
home that I
a
finally
compromise
discovered
or a
there's
just
a free world out
is on a
there.
scale. It's on a continuum.
And I didn't answer to
The
anybody
purest
since I
person
was
in the world
17
would
years
have to live
old.
in the woods and eat bark and make
Not
his
only
life
that,
pure
I left
to be truly
everybody
pure.
behind.
Even Ted Kaczynski, who
All of
hated
my
technology,
family lived
used
in a
a
certain
typewriter
place.
to type his
I
manifesto.
decided to go to the
Absolutely.
He
opposite
rode
end of the
buses,
world.
the interstate bus system, to go to a post office and mail the United States government to mail his bombs, which were also a form of crude
Always
technology.
had
And
relatives
certainly
telling
no
me
one
what
would
I
say, well,
should
Ted's
do, what
a
I
sellout.
shouldn't
So
do.
these things exist
Don't do
on a
that. That's
scale,
a really bad
a sliding
choice.
scale, and each person must decide how much of an
And so
adjustment
when
or
I was about
compromise, if you
17, I
will,
just
they are
packed up
going
and
to
said,
make in
I'm
order to do
gone.
the thing that's important to them, in order to continue to
And
be
I went
the
to,
person they want to
well, I
be.
went to Toronto,
And I have
Ontario.
to sell tickets. I have to sell CDs. I
And that
have to
was
be in the
around
commercial world. I talk about
1967.
my
And of
IRS
course, in
problems only because I've earned it.
1969,
So I'm not pure. I don't say that
presumably
that's my
Neil
thing.
Armstrong
What
landed
I'm
on the
saying
moon.
is
Now that's
that I
the
try to
official story.
keep as much of
I
my
was
of my
sitting in
values
the
intact as
Ford
I can that
Hotel
still exist in this
in
world
the
and not become
lounge
sort of
having
a
a
martyr
beer at
when
19
everyone
years
else
of
is running
age,
around taking care of themselves.
Did you read? Did you ever read
uh, where
Kaczynski's
the drinking age
manifesto?
was still
No, I
21
started
then.
to, and
He actually had a lot of good things.
well, of course. Well, I happen
Watching
to
Neil
admire people
Armstrong
like that,
land
to
on
tell
the
you the truth.
moon.
I know
And
that
I
the
remember
taking of human
saying
life
to a
is
guy
is
beside
not a
me,
good thing.
"Do you
But I don't
believe
think we've
this?"
made human life very,
He looked at me
very
rather
valuable
oddly and said, "Don't you?"
in this culture
And I said, "Well, I have
we've
my
evolved, and
doubts.
I think there's a place for
I
people
don't
who
know
decide
yet,
to take
but I
lives
don't. It
in
just
order to
strikes
make a
me
point.
Well, there's a lot of that going on.
as a
There was a
little
guy
too
on TV, and I can't
convenient.
remember the special I saw, but it was one of these
You know
LA
that they
gang
went to the
members,
moon
and he
in
looked
like
right into
7
the screen,
years
and he
from
said,
announcing
"I
it,
don't give a damn whether I live or die." So you can imagine how
and
I
yet,
feel about
and
you.
now I
Oh
look
wow,
back and we've never
yeah.
been back. Well,
It's very, very true. I mean,
how
this
does that
culture
work?
has degraded all of us to some degree or another, and all you can try to do is to cling to some little portions of yourself, and I mean self with almost like with a capital S, that are important and that define you, and let the rest just lie. That's why I take pleasure in the disasters and in the troubles. And let me say
Takes
something about this
pleasure
thing
in
about the
them.
millennium.
I don't
Your
know, George.
Y2K,
That one's a bit
and what
odd.
you spoke so directly to before. I think it's kind of wonderful that the arrogance of this species is what will bring it down. If it goes as badly as you say, and if it really sends us back several decades or centuries or whatever to some level of barbarism, I think it's kind of interesting and ironic and poetic and literary that the fact that we have this admiration for 000, for round numbers, and for a false calculation to start with. Never mind that we're a year off, because people are so ignorant that they think the millennium begins with the 2 and not ends with the zero. To start with, never mind that we're a year off, because people are so ignorant that they think the millennium begins with the 2 and not ends with the 0.
Right.
Oh,
But beyond
deja
that,
vu.
this is all because a monk, as you know, you're aware of all of this, Dionysius, Dennis the Short was his name. In, I think the 7th, let me see, I have notes on this here. Let me get it exactly right. What happened was, Dennis the Small, or Dennis the Little, Dionysius Exiguus, Dionysius the Short, he was commissioned by Pope John I in 525. He was a 6th century Scythian monk. He was told to standardize the liturgical calendar, and he did not include a year 0. He between 1 BC and 1 AD. So on December 31st, we're welcoming in the last year of the preceding 1,000 years, not the new millennium. That's the obvious part. But on top of that, there's confusion about when Christ was born, because this is all based on one figure, his birth date, and Luke places the birth of Jesus while Quirinius was governor of Syria, included Judea. But historians say that Quirinius was not appointed governor until AD 6 or AD 7. So they don't know if they're 4 years off, 6 years off, 7 years off.
I'm going to have to pause in a second to
and if it really destroys
go have a
civilization,
whiz.
it's a wonderful thing that an arrogant species can
17 hours remaining, 5:15 p.m.
And
real
even those
time.
Hubris.
Yeah, that would be something. And I think we're
Yes, I'm going to go to F1 and pause the game
so listen.
and go have a whiz. And I'm going to take the headset off
I think the first
and
album
hide
you
it
had was
under a
kind of
pillow
weird.
so you don't hear me cough.
This record contains 7 words you can never say
Presumably
on
you won't hear
television or
me
radio,
cough.
whatever it was.
Right.
Anyway,
Got to clear
is
my
there
throat.
anything
It's
left
got a
today?
bug
Is
in
there
it
any
now.
censorship left today?
So here we go
Do you
with
feel that when you
F1.
go on HBO, are there things that they say, oh,
No.
really?
No. First of all, I own all of my own record albums and masters. I have made
And here
15
goes
records.
the
I own them
headset
all,
under
and I
my
own all of
pillow.
my 12 HBO shows. I've had a very good, solid career that's sustained very well, and I own all of these things. I am an independent contractor, and I make a show. HBO gives me a little advance, or it's not so little, actually, and I make a show, and when I deliver that show, they give me the rest of the money, my profit.
Sure.
And it's a licensing thing, and then they run it for 18 times if they want, and then I keep it.
But they never say a word?
I have not, since 1977, when I began with them 12 shows ago, they have never said a word to me, and I swear to you that's the truth. And that's one of the things that saved me. I had an album career, and by the way, before I get off tonight, Art, I do want to plug my CD box set, and I'll tell you about that later.
All right.
But I had an album career in the 70s where I had 6 albums, and 4 of them went gold. You referred to one of them, the Class Clown album, had the 7 words you can never say on TV.
All right.
The next album after that, Occupation Fool, had a sequel called Filthy Words, and that's the one that went to the Supreme Court. I'm the only comedian who ever had one of his routines as the subject of a Supreme Court case. And in 1978, they decided 5-4 that those 7 words I said were indecent. It wasn't an obscenity case, but it was called, they created a whole new category of filth just for me. And I am perversely proud of that. I'm a footnote in American legal history. But I then, when my album career kind of, you can't be the hot new guy in town forever.
That's right.
So that kind of faded in 76, 77. And along came HBO, and I had another medium, such as albums.
Have returned.
I was uninterrupted by commercials, and I was uncensored.
Oh, I'd smoke some pot, but that would only make me cough.
Put out whatever you want. And on an HBO show, I do whatever I want. And that took my career, which was in the middle of a crossroads, and really pushed it.
I do have a brownie in the
I've done 12 of those
fridge.
shows. I average one every.
It's about
I've done
6
11.
months old.
The next one. But I've done 11
In the
of them.
freezer.
In 22 years now, I've done
It's a
11,
pot-filled
and that's every 2
brownie.
years.
How did you feel about the cross?
I'm avoiding
albums,
eating that.
To television. That's a big jump.
Well, all during my album career, and before that, when I had an earlier surge of popularity as a straight kind of a stand-up, suit and tie, short hair, I had a wonderful career in the 60s of being what you call a mainstream comedian. I did all the big variety shows. I did 25 Merv Griffins and about 30 Mike Douglases, 11 Ed Sullivans. So I had a career before my hair got long and I got more personal with my
Apparently F1 is the only button I can push that
always
doesn't
did
throw me out of the
and
game.
All I ever wanted from TV, there are 2 ways I do television. One is to go on Letterman or go on the Leno Show, and in exchange for my coming on, just like any movie star or any kind of actress or band leader,
and then
I come on and I give them a little marquee value, and they give me a chance to plug whatever I'm plugging. That's one way of doing television. In those cases, I don't try to change their rules. I'm not there to be controversial. I'm there for a commercial bargain on strike.
So you save the controversy for the albums or the HBOs?
Yeah, HBO is my real art, and I refer to it as art, even though that's your first name, Art. I know it sounds pretentious sometimes for a comedian to use the word art. It is entertainment first, but there's an artistic process on. It's a writing job, and you are interpreting the world through your own prism. So that's an artistic process, and I go to HBO just to show pictures of what I do. It's really essentially nothing but my theater act shown in your home. The same way a baseball game is. The baseball game it happens in the stadium, but they show them at home unchanged. That's what I do for HBO.
Do people write stuff for you, or do you write?
Never.
Never.
40 years.
All your own stuff.
Only time I ever had anything written was when I would be on a variety show in the '60s, and they would write a sketch that I was in. Anything I ever uttered as my own has always been written by me. That's my pride.
Oh yeah.
That I've written everything, and that I don't need help. This is a self-contained unit.
Do you ever wonder? And I ask a lot of famous people.
In case you're wondering why I use camera 6, or what they call the bumper camera, better field of view.
He said, at the end of the day, it's all kind of an
I mean, I get to see some scenery, which is another reason why I don't use the Frosty mod, because then everything's just covered in snow. And there's no texture quality, it's just snow.
I'm assuming he didn't.
I tried the Frosty mod and I didn't really like it very much.
I consider myself lucky and privileged.
Now, that's not to say there isn't a place for it. Sure there is. And I'll do the occasional run using Frosty. But normally I like to see the scenery, and that's why I use this camera. This gives me a really good field of view. Now I could go to camera 4 and sit on the roof between the stacks, but this doesn't feel right. Drive this way. It feels like I'm piloting from an aircraft. It's nice to have this height, but it doesn't really, it feels like you're going slower, for one thing. And although I do kind of I like having the height, sometimes I switch to this camera on straightaways, just for the height.
But it's a wonderful gift to have, and it's part of that paradox. Like I say, the cynic is really a disappointed idealist. Well, the loner is longing to belong to something. Somewhere in him there's the need to belong and be accepted.
You have to know exactly where to put your wheels.
I get a lot of it.
But kind of afraid to at the same time, right?
With this one, you need to be just a little bit right of center, and on the camera 6, you need to drive a little more right of center. See in my mirrors where the white line is and the broken line is on the left?
I've been to both those places.
If I drive from what would be your normal driving position, putting you just to the left of center, you get a little too close to the center line, see? See, the center line is just not visible. So you have to actually drive on this with this camera so that you're right of center. Center lane, right of the center lane. Right here is the perfect spot, which looks like center, but it isn't. It's slightly right of center. At least from my perspective.
The government, and I'm talking about your guests who talk about whether or not the government and certain agencies and certain
good riddance.
Have covered things up.
You were getting a little too slow to suit me.
Not always, obviously. But that, they've tried to make it so that the belief in a conspiracy makes you somehow outside the norm. That you're a kook, that you're a conspiracy buff. They say he's a conspiracy buff.
George, they lie their asses off.
I know it. And I wrote a little something out, and I want to read it to you because I pulled this paper up from the other room. I have some notes I haven't filed yet. And I said, well, if this comes up, I'd like to be able to say this to Art.
What was that?
Let me just read this to you.
Yeah, go ahead.
The dig.
Like, do I believe in conspiracies? Nah. Do I believe powerful people would get together and plan?
Oh, that must be the web page I'm on.
Do I believe powerful interests would operate outside the law, maybe even kill people? Nah. Do I believe secret government agencies might feel the need to assassinate a person, cover it up. Nah, I think everything in America is open and clean and above board, and powerful people always play by the rules. You know, that's my thought.
Yeah, well, you should have been on my government agent line.
Oh,
I had a government agent line open early.
really? Yeah. You know, my biggest sadness.
I like his
is that
time
I
traveler
do go to
line,
not my biggest sadness.
where he
Listen,
gets all these people calling in who are time travelers making
one of my
predictions in the 90s and the
disappointments is that I don't get to
early
hear you every
2000s.
night all
Not
the
a
way
single
through,
one of them ever came
and that I
true.
don't get to hear you every night. I do go to sleep
Nobody ever
super early.
mentioned COVID.
Down here in Las Vegas, I do go to sleep late, but I'm usually writing at night. And
Or Donald
Okay,
Trump.
then listen to me. Tomorrow night, have you ever heard of Ed Dames?
He's the
He's a
biggest
remote viewer.
disasters to ever hit the
We
world.
spent $20 million on a remote viewing program in the government. He was
You've
part
had
of
him
that.
on before, haven't
That's right. They call him Dr. Doom.
Okay.
And that's for good reason. Because, well, I'll tell you what. Hold on. We'll do a plug for you when we get back and do a final segment here.
Now, I should tell you maybe a little bit about
Well into that. George Carlin
while he
is my
goes on a
guest.
break,
We'll be right back. That's right. Tomorrow
my
night, by
little
the way,
driving
Ed
wheel
Dames will be
setup.
here.
I have a
Dr.
wingman
Doom.
from about
And they
the
are
year
always
2000 that
wild
this was
programs.
bought.
So if you're in
Paid about
pending
$350 for it.
disaster, you're going to want to be
It
here
has 6
tomorrow night.
programmable buttons,
Believe me.
2 paddles and 4 buttons. So the 4 buttons are patterned to are mapped to my cruise controls. Cruise control on, cruise control resume, and cruise control step up and step down. And the paddles are mapped to left signal and right signal. But I also attached a Game Boy, or not a Game Boy, a Xbox controller, literally attached it right to the bottom of the wheel. Solidly attached, it's almost like it's a part of the wheel. And that gives me another 22 buttons, programmable buttons. So that's where I have all my other functionality mapped to lights and horns and
You got to admit,
camera
this
movements and
song
stuff like that.
perfectly describes that short guy George was talking about a little while ago.
And it also works really well with those 2 little handles that come down, that protrude from the bottom of the controller. They protrude past the steering wheel, and they make for a nice little handle to touch with my fingertips, resting on my legs. So there's almost no fatigue involved in driving long distance. Now my wheel only moves 180 degrees, 90 degrees each way, where modern driving wheels will rotate around and around and around.
My guest.
Uh,
Be back in a moment.
I don't know what, 900 times or something.
Do the big payoff here, the plug. So
I don't see the need for that.
Stay right where
I'm
you are.
happy with 90 degrees each way. Works fine for my racing.
All right, here we go again. And George, I know
Works fine in this,
something new.
although I only need to touch the wheel slightly to turn.
And by the way, this makes a
The
wonderful
ratio is
communion gift.
a lot higher. I have no dead zone on this wheel,
This is the box set. The albums I talked about earlier from the
and I'm driving with linear,
took all 6 of them and put them in a CD box set.
with full linear
Not many comedians have a
mapping
box
on the
to
steering,
say,
which gives me really
this
good
is all 6
control
albums
over
plus
all of it.
a bonus album.
My video card
Sure.
is a
Gotta have a free
280, is
extra
a
added complimentary bonus gift album for
2060
no
RTX,
cost to you. This is
GeForce and
70 minutes of
NVIDIA,
things no one has ever heard of mine. So
with
it's like a new album.
8 gigabytes of VR RAM.
In that
2 of
era,
them are shared.
the albums then, because at that time LPs only accommodated about 45.
And I have all my settings on ultra or as high as I'm allowed, as high as the game will allow. And my,
really interesting part, because a box
what do you
set
call,
is
depth
a
of field
fancy
is
purchase. This is not a
400% or
general
something.
consumer
I forget
item.
what that's
People don't go
actually
spend
called.
$80
But I
on
got
a
it set
CD
at
box set. But if they're
400%.
fans, if they're really crazed,
My frame rates
they
are
care about
always
these
no
things.
less
And
than
in
60
this
frames per
bonus
second.
CD on it,
Although I think that's what
some recordings I
this
made
game
as
is
a
locked
child.
at. It doesn't seem to
Before
allow
tape
any
recorders
faster than that.
were very common. In fact, they
Occasionally
were
I'll
only
see it
sold
at
in showrooms
61.
at the time, not even in consumer stores. I was lucky enough, my mother bought bought me a tape recorder when I
Anyway,
graduated from
Carlin's
Grammar
back,
School
so
in
I'll shut up
1951.
and we'll listen.
But it was as big as a Buick cart.
So you were how old?
I was at that time 14, just turned 14.
So this is material from when you were 14?
Before that, it's when I was 12, because before I had my tape recorder, I had to go to those little booths. Remember those little booths?
Yep.
In the arcades, you put in a quarter, and for a minute they'd record your voice, and they'd give you a little acetate record.
That's right. Oh yes, I remember.
Well, I made 8 of them when I was about 12 years old, and I've kept them all these years, and we put them on this CD. And it's got my, it's just like hearing a prototype of what I wound up doing later. It's all these little routines and comedy impressions and
then
newscasts and sports things. And you can hear my old New York accent. I say, "Good evening, this is George Carlin with the news."
Exit right.
And it warms my heart, and I think a fan might be interested in it. There are 6 of those little records on there.
Oh, that's neat.
Yeah, and so the album, it's just my box set. They don't have to know the name of it. It happens to be called The Little David Years, but asking for it by my name is enough. And I just want people who care about my stuff, because I know those.
Oh, I've been here before.
To have access to this, and like I say, a wonderful first communion gift.
Yeah, right. All right, so these are available like
Getting to know
stores,
these
is there an
roads
800
really
number or
well.
No, they're available. I've been to my distributor forever. My
Excuse
label is
me.
called Eardrum, but I'm
Sorry about that.
distributed by Atlantic Records, and this is in all the stores.
All right, so it's there now.
Yes, it
Already
is.
there.
Oh, a red light.
That's quite a project. So really, you always knew, or you were always who you are now. You're just sort of a progression
Go straight
of what
on.
That's right. When I was 11 years old in 5th grade,
That's exactly what I'm doing.
we wrote little autobiographies. I think.
Oh, right beside a police car.
And the last page was, "What do you want
Is he
to
going
be
to pull
in
me
the
over?
future?" And I still know mine. I still have it. I still have the little piece of paper. It says, "I want to be an actor, comedian, impersonator, disc jockey, radio announcer, or trumpet player." I always knew what I wanted, and I planned my life. When
Bye-bye.
I was 14 or 15, I planned.
Never seen a cop
How I
pull
would go
anybody
about it.
over,
I'd become
pull
a disc jockey, and then
pull
I'd
us
do
over in
comedy.
this.
Is that what you did?
You mean, did I follow the plan?
Yeah, in other words, did you become a disc jockey?
Yes,
Can I get ahead of him?
disc jockeying when I was 19. I was in the Air Force down in
I
Shreveport,
suppose not.
Louisiana. I was on the number 1 station in a 9-station market. I had a 52 share, all right.
52 share.
A 52 share in a 9-station market.
That's really incredible.
And I was 19 years old. It was a daytime station, 1,000 watts. It was called KJOE, KJO in Shreveport. And being a daytime station, we had to get our listeners back again every morning, They wander away at night.
That's right.
So it was a good station, and I had a very lucky childhood. I got to plan my own life and live it
Well,
out.
I'll tell
I
you,
consider myself a very lucky man.
my
I worked
version
my
of what
fortune,
passes
but
for
that's
news,
genetic, working hard
or
is
my
not something
impression of what
you
passes for
decide.
news,
It's
is
something
nothing
that
but
comes
pure
to you
bullshit.
because you kind of feel
Mostly
like you ought to do it.
scripted.
I always knew too exactly what I was
And
going to do.
notice
Radio all the
something
way.
that there
Let all
hasn't
my
been
life
any
happen. But there are
accidents,
so many people
train
out there
wrecks, airplane
who are,
crashes,
I don't know,
forest
they have
fires.
no idea what
There
they're
hasn't been
doing.
anything like
The kids,
any other
I don't know.
news
Well, they don't have
since
an overriding
Trump 5
interest
years
or an
ago
overriding talent or an
and since
overriding
COVID last
goal or
year.
art form
That's
that
all there is
kind of
on the
drives them,
news.
something that
COVID and
takes you
Trump.
over.
I was
COVID
going
and
to say
Trump.
drive. Oh,
Yeah, something that takes you over and says,
There are
right.
no other
it's
things. Even
actually,
people aren't even
it's
dying from
almost like
anything
it's a
other than
drive
COVID.
that's almost more than drive. It's a madness
You
almost.
have a heart
Yeah,
attack?
I
Well,
think
COVID
it has a
related.
lot to do with
Got shot in
genetics.
the
I
head?
mean,
COVID
honestly,
related.
they're finding
Got
out,
hit
of
by a
course,
truck?
the more
COVID
they map
related.
this human genome and start to isolate some of these genes. And some of it
Died
doesn't
of a
come by
flu?
itself.
COVID
But I
related.
think they're finding, and I've always said that it's mostly genetic. There's a good amount of environmental. I mean, there's a lot of nurture, but boy, nature is really in charge.
How old did you say you were? 60?
I'm now 62. I'll be 63
As
in
far
May.
as COVID is
I
concerned,
have the world's experts
I
in
have my
longevity
serious
on the
doubts
program,
about
doctors.
the
And
reality
they are
of
telling
that.
me, honestly,
But then
if
again,
you
I'm
can
not
hang
inside a
on
hospital, so I
for
don't know
another
what's really
30
going on in
years,
there.
Yes.
there's every
What I
probability
do
we can
know
give
is
you
that in
immortality.
Well,
2017,
I know about some of those
I heard it
projections. I don't know
announced
them
on
in as detailed
CNN,
fashion as I'm sure you do. But
mainstream
You're
media,
kind of on the edge here.
the
well, you can say
CNN,
30 years because
that
I have
there
predicted
would
for
be
myself to
a
live to
virus
94.
Really?
Yes, I've
exercise
always said that's my goal, and I know
planned
that the brain.
for
I learned something as a teenager that
for
the brain. I read a
19,
book called
20, or
Cyber.
21.
God, now I can't think of the name of it.
and that it would
Doesn't it?
be an
psycho-cybernetics.
exercise,
And it's said that the brain is a
a
goal-seeking,
simulation.
problem-solving mechanism. And if you put
And I
down a
heard that
problem and a
announced
goal,
in
the brain will
2017.
do everything
It
it
was
can
only
to get there.
announced
So
once.
I put
It was a
4 years in there
15-second
once
news
because my
blurb,
uncle or great uncle, Uncle Martin, he was
and you never
94.
heard it
He
again.
put
If you didn't hear
push-ups
it the first
in
time,
my kitchen
you never
on
heard
the
it again.
tube. And I said, 94 sounds good. And I know the
It
kind of
seems
work
like
that people
whatever
like
they're
Linus
planning, they
Pauling
have to
and
tell
Philip
us
Johnson
That's right.
and a
in
number of
advance
other
what
people
they're
have
going
done
to
in their
do.
80s. And as long as I
They
have
only
the
have to
facts
tell you
that I
once. If you
expect
didn't hear it,
to
you
have
didn't
this
hear
kind
it.
of
And they
energy and
never
drive and stamina
they never
until then, and
go
boy,
over
it'd be
that
nice if
story
they came
again.
and give me that immortality
Yeah, but
treatment.
So I
they
made some
really
of my
aren't. They're
own
not just
personal
talking about immortality.
preparations
They're talking
for,
about taking you back to your prime
disasters.
and
I,
stopping
I
the
over the
aging
course
process.
of the
Well,
next year or so, I
I don't know
bought
if that'd be
extra
good, actually.
food,
well, I know, but you know
extra
what? It'd be
canned
worth an
food,
experiment.
Well,
extra
if you were
packages
one of the
of
ones.
the
Think of the
usual things
alternative.
like toilet paper and paper towels.
That's right.
Ooh.
All right, look, I do have a radio show.
Uh,
Can I put a telephone on with you?
Oh, I love
I
that.
bought
By the way, I have a
I
website
bought
called
surgical masks, dust
MrGeorgeCarlin.com. It's a
masks,
really nice,
rubber gloves.
well-engineered website. And again, I speak mostly to fans. I'm not trying to sell myself to the general public. I have a
I
nice
did
little
as much
percentage of the
preparation
population
as I
that like me.
can, living
I want them to know I have
alone,
a great website called
for whatever
GeorgeCarlin.com.
disaster. I
Well, if
even
we
bought a
don't have a link,
Coleman
we will
stove
within
in case the
minutes.
Oh,
power
thank
goes
you.
out,
All right. First time
because
caller
that
line, you're
does
on the air
seem
with
like
George
the big
Carlin. Hello.
killer. Turn
Yeah,
off
yes, George.
electricity
How
and
are you?
we're all back
Two
to
questions, if I may.
stone
What's your
knives
name,
and
sir?
bearskins.
Where am
So,
I? Los Angeles?
No, I mean your name, sir.
Oh, Zan.
And
Short for Alexander.
okay,
but
Zan. How do you
Sometimes
spell
I,
so
that?
I saw
sometimes
it
I say, you know,
coming. I
Martian
heard
Mandarin.
it coming,
Doesn't sound bad to me.
and it's
Yeah,
supposed to
well, the
be a
question is,
simulation, an
have you read,
exercise.
I know you're talking about we being
But
a
like
product of some
school
accident.
shootings, they're
Have you read
simulations
books
too
by, like, Darwin's
until they
Black
really
Book,
happen.
Black Box by a
Black.
biologist who believes
And it
that
seems like all
random
these school
evolution is not
shootings were
scientifically
started out as
viable theory?
simulations
You mean the combination
and
of
turned into what they
some sort of
claim are real
equilibrium
school
and natural
shootings.
selection, not
Some of them
biological,
are
but Darwinian
obviously were.
Yes,
combination?
well, the idea of
Some
the
of them
process
I
of
don't
it being
think were
accidental,
real.
Oh,
you know.
well, no, sir.
I'm not going to
Honestly, I
name
haven't read
which
it,
ones
and
I think
I admit to
are
being
real or
well read.
not.
I'm usually wasting my time
Um,
writing rather than reading. But I will have a tape of
I
the
think most of them
show,
were real
and I will have a
shootings,
reference. If I
but
can
they
write it
sure as
down
hell weren't.
at another time and
The
look for it,
official
I do
story
enjoy that
wasn't
sort of
true.
reading.
Well, he
But
just
anyway,
wanted to sort of
that's a
infect you
whole
with the
nother
possibility
argument.
that it's not all random, that there really is a God
Uh,
that you
this
talk about
COVID thing,
that isn't there.
But is he judgmental?
Well, we didn't
coronavirus
get that far with
is
it.
a
Oh,
common
I
head
would say
cold.
there'd be a strong possibility of it, yes.
yeah, I mean, you
Coronavirus
tried.
has been
So Zan and
around
Con already.
since man first
Okay.
existed.
Wild card
It's
line,
been
you're on the
around
air
for
with George
millions of
Carlin and Art
years.
Bell. Good morning.
Hello.
Hi.
We adapt to it.
Hi, where are you,
Why,
sir?
why do you think
My name
children
is Joe.
have
Hi,
runny
Joe.
noses all the
Yeah, how
time?
you doing?
They're fighting off one
Yeah, I
coronavirus
calling
after
and
the
ask
other,
you
building up
what you
their
thought
immune
about all
system.
the basically the
What
horrors
happens when
in
you
U.S.
give a
history,
6-year-old or
blue
6-month-old
laws,
infant
everything that restricts personal liberty, the government killing people,
a vaccination
basically
for a
the
flu?
bad side of U.S. history that's never really
A child
exposed
never
a great deal
develops
to the
an
mass
immune
public.
system.
Well, I'm sympathetic to what you're saying, and my
Me as a
analysis
kid,
would go so
I
far as
had a
maybe to have
runny
read some
nose for
Howard Zinn
14
and
years.
to read some of that part of history.
Literally, it never
I've
stopped.
often said when they talk
I
about,
had
they
one
scare people who say
coronavirus after
that
the
we have a
other,
loss of civility.
and none of them killed me.
That there's been this breakdown in manners and civility. And I say, well, what
Your immune
civility would
system
that
fights
be?
one off, you
Would
get
that be the
another one, you
genocide
fight
of the
that off.
Indians? Would that be slavery?
And
Would
I
that
lived
be the
in the
Hiroshima
country
or the Nagasaki civility?
with
Which
no running
civility do we
water.
mean? I think
So there
this
was no
country has
hot
a lot
showers or
of
hot
cancer,
baths.
a lot of
You
cancer.
Tuskegee.
washed
Pardon
when
me?
you could.
Tuskegee.
Yes. Well, you can go
And
on
as a
and
kid
on.
living
Hazel
in the country, you're
our own
literally
energy
dirty all the
secretary,
time.
walking out incredibly just a couple of years ago and saying we fed plutonium to kids and pregnant women, stuff
I
like
know it. Oh, and these stories are legion. I mean, the list is getting longer and longer. And just think about the labor violence in the 1930s. You know, in the name of commerce, in the name of goodwill.
And
It is a
bacteria,
terrible,
most bacteria
bloody
are
record.
actually
And
good
I have
for you.
always said, when people revere the flag, I've always said,
I mean,
you
I used
have to
to eat potatoes
look at
right
that
out of the
flag
bloody
for
ground.
everything it stands
I
for,
would
not
wash them
just what
off,
you
as it
perceive
were,
to
on
be
my pant
heroic
leg.
and
I'd
perhaps
rub all
good
the
things,
dirt off, and
but
I'd eat
everything
raw
it's ever
potatoes
stood
right out
for.
of the
And the
ground.
record is more than just
Well,
It's dirt
yeah,
and
it is,
all.
and
Turns out
I
the dirt didn't
remember
do
when
me
I
any
was
harm.
young,
In
and
fact, apparently
I'm
it
not
was
that
good for you.
much younger than you are. I remember when the Federal Bureau of Investigation would come out and they'd come on television and say something like,
Excuse me,
"We've
that
caught
bug's
so and
back.
so." It was like the word of gold. I mean,
Oh
if the
yeah.
FBI came on, man, you believed every word they said. Today,
So,
if
you
the
know,
FBI says
my
something,
own
you
experience with
almost
my
automatically
childhood is
disbelieve it.
I
Absolutely.
never had a
I think,
vaccination
and I think it is
until
a good thing. There are people
I
who
was in
decry the idea
school,
Right,
that
and
this
then exit right.
loss
and
of trust in
Yeah.
our
was around
leaders
8,
and our
I
government.
think, when they
So
gave
the
us
record
all
is
that
there, and I think
polio
it's a
Exit
good
right.
thing. And if
vaccination
it's
stuff.
going to require some bloodshed
And
someday, we'll get it
mine, I
right. Now,
remember mine was
what I like about assassination
a
are the
pneumatic
shoots
needle
that
that had like
fell out of
10 or
those
12 needles,
popularity.
all with
Turn right.
10 or
Those
12
polls,
different
he's up
things
to
in
70%
them.
now. All of a sudden, bing, he's not even in the poll anymore.
And,
I'm not telling people to go out and
you
do
know,
that,
I'll
but
admit
I'm
it didn't
telling you
kill
when I
me.
see that,
Good.
and we're way behind India
I
even.
sure don't know what the
India
hell
has
was in
killed
all of
3
those, but they
Gandhis.
didn't kill
We've
me.
only
And I
killed
think
2
back
Kennedys.
then,
Israel's been busy.
vaccinations were
You know,
actually meant to
it's
help you,
exciting
not
to me.
hurt
I
you.
just love that
Nowadays,
situation
I
in
wouldn't
history
trust a
when it happens.
vaccination. I haven't been
Well, they
vaccinated
warned
in
me.
the last 30
East
or
of the Rockies,
30
you're
to
on there with
40
George
years.
Carlin. Good morning.
Hello.
And I will never
Hi, what about you?
voluntarily have
Who do you
another
suppose?
needle shoved
Well, I
in
don't know.
me
Well,
to
who are you
put
calling?
anything in or take
No, I'm
anything
George.
out,
Oh, no, I meant the call. Oh, the
with
caller
one
is gone.
exception.
We
Oh,
somehow
see that?
lost the caller. That's too bad.
Somebody
I
just
do
took the
want to
ball.
find out what my
That's
blood
right.
type is at some
West of the
point in
Rockies,
my
you're on the
life,
air with
and that
George
will
Carlin,
mean
Art Bell. Hi.
Yeah.
drawing some
Hello.
blood from me.
I'm calling from LA, Mac.
I do not,
Matt, how are you
I
doing? I'm
do
good.
not have,
We
I
got the
stay as
deal
far away
covered,
from doctors as I
but
possibly can.
the comment I had was
I have much less
kind of
need
weird the
for
way
medical doctors
humans
than I
stick
do
with
a dentist, which I
uh,
have
profanity and
gone
everything.
to regularly,
Doesn't really make any sense. Like
but I have no burning
my
desire
teacher
to.
had one time
I
brought
have
up
to have
the
a tooth
point, like,
pulled,
if
and
you
I sure as
switch
hell don't
the
want to go
word
anywhere near
crap
them
to
now.
red, then it'd be perfectly fine to say, yeah, could you give me that crap pen? But you say, oh, yeah,
Go
I really
straight
think
ahead.
it's red.
As much
The
as I
teacher
like
yells
and
at
I
you.
trust my doctor
Right.
That's right. Yes, that
or
is
my
right.
dentist,
Well,
I
the
don't
thing
know
about
what his
words is that
crazy new
they're
procedures
arbitrary
have to be.
designations, and they freeze meaning. They don't allow for nuance
Have to
or any
be
sort of
now.
spectrum,
And
and
if it's
that's one of the
required that I have a
destructive
vaccination or
limitations
they're
of language. Now to
required
add religious
that they give
superstition,
me a
fear,
test,
guilt, and
a,
shame of the
a
human body. This is what
coronavirus
religion
test,
has done to us
then I
in this
will
area of
refuse as
obscenity.
long as
It's taken the
I
human
can
body and
tolerate the tooth
functions
problem.
concerning sex, and it is an
I will
absolutely
not be
statutory
tested for this
procedure,
fact for this
and
virus.
assigned to it an evil,
I will
bad
not be vaccinated for it.
attitude.
Not
I'm
as
sorry,
long
I'm
as
not being
I
too
have the
articulate, but
ability
I'm
to
Yes,
just
you
say
are.
no.
trying to rush. But it has to do with superstition. It is not reality. The two most uncompromising forces
I
in
think the
human
whole thing
experience
is
are going to
rushed.
the bathroom and having sex.
I don't
And
trust
these are
it,
the two things that are obscene.
but I
Not
have
that they're
never
easy in
trusted
life,
vaccinations,
but
not in
these
the last
two things
40
are
years.
considered obscene, and these are the most irrepressible forces in nature.
That's what Howard Stern gets in trouble for.
Well, Howard,
Talking about that stuff.
yeah, I know, but he does it. You know, he kind of has to be kind of cute. Show us your breath.
That's true. That's true. He's on radio, and he got in a lot of trouble. I mean, a lot of stations he was on got fined, and
Yeah.
he went through hell.
Well,
Kind of like you.
my case was the
Finding
one
a
that
new route.
established that.
Yeah,
Those
you
7
do
good
that. I'm
Lord
going to
being
look
in a
for a
Supreme
place to
Court
sleep.
case because a radio station
Please
played my
make a
record on the air
U-turn
in
when possible.
1973. And in 78, the Supreme Court decided 5 to
And it
4.
says I can
These
Okay,
sleep
words were
here.
let's find
indecent
a
when
new
played
route.
on the radio.
Did the radio station keep its license?
It was,
Make a
yes, it
U-turn.
did. It did. It was
I
WBAI. It
just
was
don't
not a
know where I
commercial
can
station. It
sleep
was a
here.
listener-supported station.
Ah, and they kept their license. So,
They kept
Ah,
their
right
that
license.
there.
really is a big victory, actually.
Yeah, and it's funny. They'll just carve. See, they'll just define it any way they want.
No, I don't
What
want to
they
buy
need,
the
what they think they
garage.
need. But it's so
Jesus.
absurd. I mean, I just read Newsweek, and it's got a story about
I
John
want to sleep.
McCain, and it says how he said F blank 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 Y blank blank blank. Now there it is in plain black and white. They didn't say the two words, but it's clear what they meant, and every reader was intended to know what they meant.
Of course.
So apparently, knowing what he said wouldn't hurt you or corrupt you morally.
But actually hearing it.
But to print the actual letters would somehow violate something. This is how simple-minded and how thin
Where is
this
that spot?
philosophy is of censoring. And other places probably wouldn't say the F blank blank blank. They just say blank or expletive. and there's no real standard for this. It's all haphazard, and it's all based on religious fear, guilt, and superstition.
In the general media, is that ever going to
Jesus
change?
Christ.
In our lifetimes, maybe that's a better question. Is that ever going to change? Is the world going to just open up?
Well, there is erosion. I mean, Newsweek would not have even put that much in there 10 years ago, or certainly 20 years ago. So there's a certain erosion that takes place. But no, I can tell you a 10-letter and a 12-letter one that they'll never print. Unless
Oh, what did I hit?
a magazine with a smaller circulation that doesn't depend so much on mass advertising. It all has to do with
Money.
earning the buck. Yeah.
Money.
Yeah, not offending a buyer.
Well, you're very good at behaving yourself, aren't you? In other words, you can either be George, the HBO George, or the record album George, or you can be the George under control,
Yeah.
even doing stuff for kids. You do some stuff
Well,
for kids.
I did a show on on PBS. I did 45 episodes. I followed. I took the place of Ringo Starr. In that respect, I'm kind of the anti-Pete Best, a very inside rock.
Well, I'm not getting out that way.
Anti-Pete Best, but I played a character called Mr. Conductor, and it was a sweet, well-produced and well-written children's show. It was not a kind of a garbage show, and I took a lot of pride in that. I did it because it gave me a chance to act a little in a manner where other people might not see that side of me. You know, this thing I do is all about self-expression, you know, kind of like exposing yourself to people and showing who you are. And this gave me a chance to show that I have another side, that I have another quality to me that perhaps they didn't think about.
Oh, you obviously do.
Sure, we all do. We all have many facets, and that's what I tell. Sometimes, when I did that show, people would say, "Well, how can you do that?" And I'd say, "Well, use it as a learning tool for your child to show them that people have more than one facet. People are not all monochromatic. They have different aspects to them, and I have this aspect as well as the one, the profane one."
But you can walk that line so well. I guess
All
that's
I'm
just
trying to do
part
is
of
find a place
being
to
good at what
sleep.
you
It
do.
says I can sleep
Have you
there,
seen
but
the
I
movie
can't.
The Sixth Sense yet?
Get ready to turn right.
Yeah, no, you know something? I watched it in a hotel and fell asleep in the
Turn
middle of it.
right.
Not because it was bad, but because it was late. But I know the movie.
Ooh.
Well, being a skeptic of the
My
paranormal,
brakes
I
don't
would
work
suggest
as well
that
as
movie
I'd
to
like.
you at a moment when you can stay awake. Look, it has been, boy, has it been fun having you on the air. You promised 2 hours, and that's exactly what you have given me is 2 hours.
Well, thank you. I really thank you for the chance to be myself and to show my flaws and weaknesses and to show some of my strengths and to tell you the things I feel. And I do love your show, and I hope you do it forever and ever.
Thank you, George.
Thank you.
Good night, my friend.
Bye-bye.
That's George Carlin, as promised. Great guy from Bally's. And now I guess you can wind down a little bit. You do that after
yeah, about an hour, a little more than an hour. This will probably automatically switch to music now.
So it's kind of like a racehorse. You got to kind of walk it on.
There.
Keep right.
That's area. This is my music list, my playlist. I guess that's what we'll be listening to the rest of this trip. 9 hours game time. fuck?
Keep left and then turn left. Turn left.
Red light, just a suggestion.
Go straight on. Keep left.
.52 p.m. Wednesday. Impeachment number Tuesday. In other words, January 13th, 2021. Eight hours and a couple of minutes. Game time for this run. Recording time so far is 53 minutes for part 2.
Go straight on. Keep left and then turn left. Turn left. Get ready to turn left. Turn left.
Oh, good. You guys all stop at that red light. I'll get right by you.
Go straight on.
No way station either. Do, 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 do. Do, 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 do. Good morning, sunshine. Gee, it's good to see you smile.
Oh, my baby brought you to me. Kissed me yesterday, hello, the silver lining. Got spring and summer running through me. Hey,
Take
98.6, it's
98.6
good to have you back
back
again. Oh, hey, 98.6, her loving is
is
the
the
medicine
medicine
that
that
saved
saved
me.
me.
Oh, I love my
Baby.
baby. Hey, everybody on the street, I see you smiling. Must be because I found my baby. You know she's got me on another kind of highway. I want to go to where it takes me. Hey, 98.6, it's
98.6.
good to have you
Durango,
back again.
Colorado.
Oh, hey,
I've been here
98.6, her loving is the
way
medicine
back in
that
the
saved
80s.
me. Oh, I love my
Baby.
baby.
Or was it the early, late 70s?
Keep right and then turn right.
You know she's got me on another kind of
Turn right.
highway. I want to go to where it takes me. Hey, 98.6, it's good to have
Have
you
you
back
back
again. Oh,
again.
hey, 98.6, her
98.6
loving
loving
is
is
the
the
medicine that
medicine that
saved
saved me.
me. Oh, I
Go
love
straight
Love
my
on.
my
baby.
baby. Do 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 do. Do 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 do.
Keep right and then turn right.
Oh
Turn
yeah,
right.
this road. Where have all the young men gone? Where have all the youth men gone? And where are the men? Like night upon the shady sea. I need a hero for a hero to shed the tears. 1 hour recording time for part 2, with 6 hours game time to go. Probably an hour and 20 minutes of recording for this. Ooh, that'll be 20 gigabytes. Well, that was rare that I ever get a
Keep
flinch
right
like that.
and then turn right.
It's your way.
Turn right. Keep left and then turn left. Turn left. Go straight on.
Up where the mountains meet the heavens above, out where the lightning splits the sea, I could swear there is someone somewhere watching me. Through the wind and the chill and the rain and the storm and the flood, I can feel his approach like a fire in the blood.
Recomputing. When possible, make a U-turn.
He's gotta be strong and he's gotta be fast and he's gotta be fresh from the fight. I need a hero. I'm holding out for a hero till the morning light. He's gotta be sure and he's gotta be soon and he's gotta be long till the night. I need a hero. I'm holding out for a hero till the end of the night.
Boss? I'm fine, Harry. Pull up a rock. Ghost did his best, and Flo wanted to squirrel accompanied. Now what brings you out to the edge of the continent? Flo won't let you.
Turn right.
He sounds too blue to fly. A midnight train is flying. I'm so lonesome I could cry. Did you ever see a robin weep when leaves begin to die? That means he's lost the will to live. I'm so lonesome I could
Pull up a
cry.
rock. Flo will give you a good tours.
I'm so lonesome I
Rice farmer and
could
Bangladesh made a bit of a Mongol works in a rapidly decaying organism. I heard. So what are they planning to do about it?
Lights burning brighter somewhere. Got to be birds flying higher in the sky. If I can hear where home lovers walk hand in hand, tell me why, oh why, oh why can't my dreams come true? Must be peace and understanding. Strong winds of kindness that will blow away the doubt and fear. If I dream of a woman where hope keeps shining on everyone, tell me why. Oh, why? Oh, why keep my sun appear? We're lost in a cloud with too much rain. Trapped in a world that's troubled with pain. But as long as the man plans to stand to dream, can redeem his soul and fly high. He can fly deep in my heart. There's a trembling question, but I am sure the answer's gonna come in the dark. Interesting rock textures. I have the new texture maps mods for a couple of different states, including this highway map that makes the roads look like they're brand new, and that Donald Trump actually did something in office for infrastructure. It's a pity that the real infrastructure is fumbling around us. I don't trust any bridges anymore. Imagine
there's no heaven.
it's easy if you try.
No hell
Oh, below us, no
only sky.
Imagine all the people living for today. Imagine there's no country. Hard to do. Kill or die for.
Keep right and then turn left.
All the people living for but I'm not the only
Right.
one.
I hope
Someday
someday
you'll
join
join
us,
us,
and the
and the
world
world
will be
will be
one.
one.
Imagine no possession. I wonder if
If
you
you
can.
can,
No need for greed
greed
or
or
hunger,
hunger,
or brotherhood of man. Imagine
imagine
all
all
the
the
people
people
Keep laughing.
sharing
living
all the
brotherhood.
world.
You,
You may say I'm a
I'm a
dreamer,
dreamer,
but I'm
but
not
I'm not
the
the
only
only
one.
one.
I hope someday
Someday
you'll
you'll
join
join
us,
us.
and the
Keep rising.
world will live as one. In the
Keep laughing.
year 2525, if man is still alive, if woman can survive, they may find.
Boom, 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 boom.
In the
In the year
year 3535,
2535,
ain't gonna need
you
to
need to
tell the
tell the
truth,
truth,
tell
tell
no
no
lies.
lies.
Everything you
Everything you
think,
think,
do,
do,
and
and
say
say
Keep
is
laughing.
in the
in this
pill
pill
you
you
took
took today.
today. In the
In the
year
year
4545,
4545,
ain't gonna need your teeth,
you
won't
won't
need your
need your
eyes.
eyes.
You won't find a
Find a
thing to
thing to
chew.
do.
Nobody's
Nobody's
gonna
gonna
look
look
at
at
you.
you.
In the year
Year
55,
55,
55,
55,
your arms are hanging
you
limp
can
at your
catch your
sides.
ride.
Your legs got
Got
nothing
nothing
to
to
do.
do.
Some machine
Machines
doing that
doing that
for
for
you.
you.
In the year
Year
65,
red
65,
car.
ain't gonna need
I
no
feel
help,
in a
no
dual mood.
think,
Should I
no
bump him off the
plan.
road?
You pick your son, pick your daughter too. From the bottom of a long glass tube.
Just a little
Whoa.
dual excitement there. Red cars stay.
In the
I just want to run
year
them off the road when I see them.
7510, if God's a coming, he ought to make it
Make it
by
by
then.
then.
Maybe he'll look
Look
around
around
himself
himself
and
and
say,
say,
guess it's time
time
for the
for the
judgment
judgment
day.
day.
In the
In the
year
year
8510,
8510,
God is
God's
gonna
gonna
shake
shake
his
his
mighty
mighty
head.
head.
He'll either say, I'm pleased where
Where
man
man
has
has
been,
been.
or tear it down and start
Start
again.
again.
Whoa.
Ooh.
In the year 9595,
595.
I'm
Kind
kinda
of
wondering if
wondering if
man is
man is
gonna
gonna
be
be
alive.
alive.
He's taken everything
Everything
this
this
old
gold
earth
earth
can
can
give,
give.
and
And
he
he
ain't
ain't
put
put
back
back
nothing.
nothing.
Whoa.
Whoa.
Now it's
It's
been
been
10,000
10,000
years.
years.
Man has
Man has
cried a
cried a
billion
billion tears.
tears for what he never
Never
knew.
knew.
Now man's reign is
Rain is
through,
true.
but through
Through
eternal
eternal
night,
night.
the twinkling of
Twinkling of
starlight,
starlight.
so very
It's
far
far
away,
away.
maybe
Me,
it's
it's
only
only yesterday.
yesterday. In the year
Year
2525,
25,
if
if
man is
man is
still
still
alive,
alive,
if woman
woman
can
can
survive,
survive.
they may find.
Nice song. I like that one. 98.6, another one I like. It's in here somewhere. Oh, Jesus, Justin Bieber.
It's the most
Beautiful time of the year.
lights fill the
There's
streets, spreading so
so
much
much
cheer.
fear.
I should be
This is the
playing
only
in the
Justin
winter
Bieber
snow,
song I
but
actually
I'ma
like,
be under the
called
mistletoe.
Mistletoe.
I don't
And
wanna
he
miss out on
sang
the
this way
holiday,
back,
but I can't stop
probably
staring
about
at
10
your
years
face.
ago.
I should be playing in the winter
Winter
snow,
snow,
but I'ma
I'll
be
be
under the
under the
mistletoe.
mistletoe.
You,
You,
shawty,
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 under the mistletoe. This actually
everyone's
has
gathering
beat
around the
and
fire,
rhythm,
just like it's
unlike
roasting
that
like a
other
hot
stuff that he does,
July.
that
I should
hippie
be
hop.
chilling with my folks,
And I
I
have
know.
nothing against hip hop.
I'ma
I like
be
Black
under
Eyed
the
Peas.
mistletoe. Word on the street, Santa's coming
It's the way
tonight.
he kind of
Reindeer's
yodel
flying through the
sings.
sky so high.
It just
I should be
it
making
just
a
hurts
list,
my
I
ears.
know. I'ma be under the mistletoe.
Shawty.
Shawty,
Now this is actual singing. He has a dynamic voice. I mean, very comparable to Elvis. The crap that he sings. But hell, he's worth $250 million or something.
the wise men follow
What
the
the hell? I mean, if I
stars,
was,
the way I followed my
I'd sing
heart.
just about anything to make $250
And
million
it led me
too.
to a miracle.
Poor
Hey,
guy, he's so
love,
lonely though.
don't
He
you
thinks
buy
he's
me
got
nothing,
it made
buy
with
me 'cause
Baldwin,
I
but
ain't feeling one
I
thing.
don't see that
Your
lasting. Although he
lips
did
on
wait
my
long enough to
lips,
marry.
that's a merry, merry
I
Christmas.
don't know if
It's the
that
most
lasts. That will
beautiful
be
time
quite
of the year.
interesting.
Lights fill the streets, spend so much cheer. I should be playing in the winter snow, but
No,
I'ma
I'll
be
be
under the
under the
mistletoe.
mistletoe.
I don't
I'm
wanna
gonna
miss
miss
out on
out
the
on the
holiday,
holidays,
but I
but I
can't
can't
stop
stop
staring
staring
at your
at your
face. I
face.
should be playing in the winter snow,
Snow.
but I'ma
I'm
be
be
under the
under the mistletoe. This
mistletoe.
one I like so much. That's probably in here 3 times, and 3 times in a row. So don't be surprised if it starts up again right after it finishes. I'm not exactly sure where they all are, and I'd go looking for Black Eyed Peas, but I'm afraid of getting kicked out again. Mistletoe. Although there is a way I could do that. I could hit
Hit play.
F1. F1 and pause. Oh no, I can't go into my radio. No,
It's the most
it's not
beautiful
gonna let
time
me
of the
do that
year.
either.
Lights fill the streets, spreading so much cheer. I should be playing in the winter snow, but I'ma
I'm
be
being
under the
under the
mistletoe.
mistletoe.
I don't wanna
Wanna
miss
miss
out on
out
the
on the
holiday,
holidays,
but I
but I
can't
can't
stop
stop
staring
staring
at your
at your
face.
face.
I should be playing in the
In the
winter
winter
snow,
snow,
but I'ma
I'ma
be
be
under the
under the
mistletoe.
mistletoe. Yoo-hoo,
Shawty,
shawty. 58 minutes. I'm down to the last 5 to 10 minutes of game.
under the mistletoe. Everyone's
Everyone's
gathering
gathering
around the
around the
fire,
fire.
chestnuts
Chestnuts
roasting
roast
like a
like
hot
hot
July.
July.
I should be
Be
chilling with
playing
my
with the
folks,
folks.
I know. I'ma
I'll
be
be
under the
under the
mistletoe.
mistletoe.
Word on
Word
the
on the
street,
street
Santa's
says it's
coming
coming at
tonight.
night.
Reindeer's flying through the
Through the
sky
sky
so
so
high.
high.
I should be making a list,
See how
I
green the
know.
grass
I'ma
is?
be under the
The
mistletoe.
trees are green. The sky is a nice texture. The road's in good shape. This is the America we should be living in, not the Donald Trump version. There's some pretty good mods for this game. Wise men follow the stars, follow the way I follow my heart. And it led me to a miracle, and I,
Don't you buy me
don't you
nothing, 'cause I ain't feeling one
mind?
thing. Your lips
6:20
on my
p.m.
lips, that's a merry,
Wednesday,
merry
January
Christmas.
13th,
It's the most
the
beautiful
second
time of the year.
impeachment of
Lights
Donald
fill
Trump
the streets,
Day.
spend so much cheer.
2 days that will live in infamy, January 6th and January 13th. Miss out on the holidays. Stop staring at 1 hour and 25 minutes, basically, of game time.
Exit right.
Part 2. Man, it's going to be a big file.
Turn left.
Now, you see, it's a good job I actually stopped to look. Do, 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 do.
Go straight on.
And there's the third one. Beautiful time of the year. It's playing in the winter snow. I'm be under the mistletoe. Miss out on the holidays.
Turn left.
Stop staring at your face. I should be playing in the winter snow. I'ma be under the mistletoe with you. Shawty with you. Shawty with you. Under the mistletoe. Everyone's gathering around the fire. Chestnuts roasting like a hot July. I should be chilling with my folks, I know. I'ma be under the mistletoe. Word on the street, Santa's coming tonight. Reindeer's flying through the sky so high. I should be making a list, I know. I'ma be under the mistletoe. Shawty with you.
Get ready to turn right.
Under the mistletoe.
Turn right.
Shawty with you. Shawty with you. Under the mistletoe. Yeah. The wise men followed a star. The way I followed my heart. And it led me to a miracle. Yeah. Don't you buy me nothing. Don't you buy me nothing. I am feeling one thing. Your lips on my
Turn
lips.
left. And
That's
then
a merry,
turn
merry
right.
Christmas. It's the most beautiful time of the year. Lights fill the streets, spend so much cheer. I should be playing in the
Turn
winter
right.
snow. I'll be under the mistletoe. I don't wanna miss out on the holiday, but I can't stop staring at your face. I should be playing in the winter snow, but I'ma be under the mistletoe. Yeah.
Train tracks.
Shawty with you. Under the mistletoe, yeah. Shawty with you. Oh,
Goodyear blimp
yeah.
or a blimp.
Under the
Get ready to turn right.
I wonder what it's doing up there. Oh,
Turn right.
Kiss me underneath the mistletoe.
This is where it's
there's my parking spot. And oops.
time to hit the road.
My wipers are attached to a switch. What's going on? I'm unhooked. Okay. No, because I didn't get that. That's not right. Connect. Go forward. Now, excellent. Okay, 1 hour and 26 minutes for part 2. I'll go and upload this, do a test of it first, see if it's acceptable to upload. And so for now, we'll call it a day.